Alright, again, this is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD1100 or C# programming class, I'm going back and reviewing some of the material in Chapter 12. It's been 2 weeks. It'll be 3 weeks almost since we've had class, or 2.5 by the time Monday rolls around. Now, we went through this example, and as I'm sure you all know, this is not the only way to do this. This could have been done a lot of different ways, but we created this time class. In there we added 3 constants. Alright? And notice I've got it min, max, and min. Well, minimum is, the minimum number of hours, minutes, or seconds you can have are 0. Alright, the maximum number of hours you can have are 23. The maximum numbers of minutes or seconds are 59, which is how I got those names. Okay? Then we set this up as these being our private instance variables. So every time we create a time, those times will have 3 components: an hour, a minute, and a second. If we come in and attempt to create a time in here, alright, what we could have done in here is we could have gone in and set that hour, minute, and second to min like we did here. Alright, so that's the full arg constructor. So we're calling set time and we're passing these things in. This might have been better really to come in here and do this and put that in here like this. Now, don't worry about it. I'll fix those errors in just a moment. Where we would have come in and said hour equals this, minute equals this, second equals this, and you notice our errors are all gone. Alright, that might have been a much crisper way of doing it. Alright, and then we could have come in here and supposed that when we came in we had set in for us int hour, int minute, and int second. Now, if we did that, we could have eliminated this line and put in here this dot hour equals hour, this dot minute equals minute, and this dot second equals second. Now, there's both a plus and a minus to doing this. The plus to doing this is I'm doing everything in line right here. The minus is in our set time. We were coming in here and we were actually doing some validation. Alright, and right now I think we're just going to end up, let's see, we still, bless you, we still could call this, still could do that. We're not going to get an error, but we've already come in here now and we have set these. See that? So the advantage of coming in here and doing it like this is now when we will call set time, we're going to take those times that were passed in, the hours, the minutes, and the seconds, and we're going to end up in set time, we're going to end up coming in here and checking to make sure they're all valid. Alright, so I just came in and made a bunch of changes. No idea if after making these changes, if this will still run, if it'll still be correct or whatever. Let's take a look though. But it looks like I have an error in here, or maybe more than one error. Alright, so now it's saying that I don't have any more in here. I don't have a time constructor that will only take one parameter and one that will take 2 parameters. So what did we have in here to begin with? Well, if you remember what we had in here, not in there, but in our time class, okay, when we had the full arc constructor, we had this in here. And what we had though was int hour, and we had equal min, int minute equal min, and int second equal min. Now what did that buy us that we didn't have before? Well, these are optional parameters, this and this and this. So it says if we call this and only pass in one thing, then set minute and second to the min amount, which is 0. If we call this and we pass in two things, just take the second and set that equal to the minimum amount, which is 0. But if we pass in all three values, don't use any of the defaults. Alright, so let's save this. I think now we've gotten rid of all of our errors and run it. Alright, all arguments defaulted. We defaulted to 12, 0, and 0. This was the minimum. Alright, what do I mean? That is 00 AM. That's 12 AM. Then when we did it again and we specified an hour, that was 2, but for the minutes and the seconds, it again went back to 00. Since it's 2, it would be AM. When we passed in both an hour, 10, and a minute, 19, but no second, we got the default here. Okay? Then here we passed in what? Well, if you look at it, because I want to make sure that you're getting this, that when we had the program here and we passed in this information that you see right there, that 21 is this, 21 minus 12 is 9, that 45 is this, that 56 is this, and we get the PM. Alright? And we did put in an exception handler in here, and the way that we set this up was we did it within a try-catch block. Now we could have put all of this in there within a try-catch block. We could have taken the entire thing that we did in here, other than maybe, I guess, this. We could have taken all of this just to show you. I'm going to grab every bit of it, every bit that we have in there, and I'm going to throw it inside of this try-catch. It's giving me those because I did it with the program running. But if I save, I shouldn't get any errors. Alright, and it still shouldn't blow up until like it did before. So I still get everything, and there it blew up. Alright, so there was absolutely nothing wrong with us going in and taking, creating our 4-time objects right here, and after creating them, putting all of our code to handle them into a single try-catch block. Why? Because that was valid, because that was valid, because that was valid, and because that was valid. Alright, now really I shouldn't use the var there, I should have used probably time. Okay? And now we put in something that was invalid. And we even ran this, if you remember. So I'm going to save this and run it again. And notice it says parameter was 27. We ran this, if you remember, and we ran it again here and put in like 17 here and ran it. And then it came up and it said our middle value was bad, which was 74. We fixed that and we ran it again, and it said that our last value was bad. So this gave us the opportunity to go in here and test all 3 of the fields. All right? Now, I'm not going to say to you that I think that putting all of this within a try-catch block is a good thing or a bad thing. I guess that's kind of for you to figure out on your own. And different companies, different places do this in different ways. But what I was attempting to show you here, if you noticed, I just came in and made a lot of changes. And I did that on purpose. All right. I did that on purpose to show you a few things and to show you that, as always, there's more than one way of doing the same thing. All right. And also, please remember a few things here as we look. Okay. Well, constants, fine. These are instance variables. The way we are setting our instance variables is through our getters and setters. We are also coming through here, and for each of our setters, we're making sure that the value we put in is between 0 and 59 or 0 and 23. If it's not, we're throwing an argument out of range exception. If it is valid, we're just accepting it. All right, so what I'm trying to show you in here is one way that we can handle this stuff. I'm not going to, I wouldn't be so pompous as to say, yeah, and it's the only way to handle this stuff, or it's the best way to handle this stuff. No, I am showing you a way of handling this stuff. All right, some books will call this too, just so you're aware of this, it will call this a default parameter. Okay. Or a parameter, or a parameterless constructor. I just call it a no arc. That's just, I don't know if somebody told me that. I don't think it's something that I thought of, but it's totally fine the way it is. All right, now we're going to keep going. And I'm looking in here to see if there's anything else in my notes. Just so you're aware of this, what if I came in here and I decided that each time I created a new time object, so each time I created one of these, okay, I wanted to come in here and I wanted to create a new field, or a new variable in here. I'm going to call this int what do we want to call this? T times. And I'm going to set it equal to 0. My errors will go away in just a second now. Give me this because I'm not using it. All right. But probably, I don't know why I couldn't even put this and take that and put it in here. See, I'm still not getting any errors. But after I create each one of these, all right, after I create each one of these, what if what I want to do is I want, every time I create one of these, I want to make sure that basically I'm going to go in and I'm going to have one counter that's going to hold all of my times. If I put static in here, it's going to do a couple of things for me. Well, it's giving me that error because I'm in main. All right, and I believe the variables in here are static anyway. But the point is, I've given you this example before. I'm going to get rid of this. And I've given you this example before, but I'm going to say it one more time anyway. And that is, imagine that what I wanted to do was every time I created a new time, I wanted to add one to something called time count. I want to make sure that I have one counter called time count. And if I create 4 or 5 different times, that it's equal to 4. What I don't want to have is I don't want to have a counter for each time I create a time. So each time has its own counter that's equal to 1. That wouldn't make any sense. I mean, if I was going to do 100,000 times that I was going to create in this program here, I would want one counter with a value of 100,000, not 100,000 counters, each with a value of 1. So when you make something static, what you're saying is it's going to be shared by all of the components. Not only when something is static does it mean you don't have to instantiate it, but there's a sharing mechanism that takes place. Now again, lastly, I came back in here. You see it. I've got virtually everything in the program other than the read line. everything is in the try-catch. And I'm going to save it, and I'm going to run it again, and you'll notice it still works. So again, that's yet another way this program could have been created. And that's what I was trying to show you. Okay? Whether I was successful or unsuccessful, I guess, is in many ways is going to be up to you. So when I come back in just a couple moments, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going over Chapter 14, which is on how to work with inheritance. I will be back with that lecture very shortly.